Good evening and welcome. The meeting of the Cleveland County Board of Education for Monday, August 12th is called to order. First tonight we have Pastor Brad Bridges of Patterson Grove Baptist Church to provide our invocation.
Please bow your heads. Lord, I'm reminded of your word from Psalm 139. You created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and I know that full well. God, we adore you for your goodness. We adore you for knowing our needs before we even know them. We adore you for the way you've created such a wonderful place for us to serve you here in Cleveland County. God, we adore you for creating each student in this school system in your image. Lord, we adore you for providing incredible teachers, staff, administrators, maintenance workers, and district office staff. But God, we confess that we oftentimes fall short of your standard. We confess that we as a community sometimes fall short. And we often all put our own wants above those of others sometimes. But God, we thank you for all the administrators, the staff, the teachers who've worked so hard to prepare for this school year. God, I praise you for the school board and the work they do behind the scenes to make it possible for so many children to learn, to grow, to mature, and to grow into fully mature adults that are going to make an impact on our society. God, I thank you for the civic orgs and the churches who've worked to bless Cleveland County schools with hundreds and hundreds of book bags and school supplies, landscaping, and much more. God, I thank you for your financial provision for our school system as well. But God, tonight I ask you to continue to provide teachers for any schools that don't have enough. I ask you to provide funding where it's needed. God, I ask you to provide housing for any students who don't have housing. God, I ask you to provide school supplies for students who are in need. Lord, I also ask that you provide hope to students who are in need of it, maybe from a teacher or a friend this school year. But God, as the school board meets tonight, as a community hears their decisions, their actions, I ask for unity amongst the school board and amongst our community. But I also mostly ask for humility for all of us as we serve you, that we would put the needs of others above our own. God, you are good, and we trust you to guide, we trust you to direct, and we trust you to provide this school year in a way that cares for your people and honors you. We submit this year to you, God, and we ask you to provide. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Mr. Sperling, if you'd lead in the pledge.
Please stand. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We don't have any official recognition tonight, but I would like to thank all our classified folks that have spent the summer getting our school buildings ready, our maintenance and custodial staffs, our technology folks for getting all the upgrades done, child nutrition for our summer feeding program, and then even our transportation folks getting those yellow buses ready. So thanks to those folks for all they've done this summer. So next we have adoption of the agenda. Before I ask for a motion, that we do need to add one item for the minutes. Those were condensed into one, so I'd like to add 4.02. That would be approval of the closed session minutes for July 22nd. We can still vote on the two together, but just to be consistent with what we've done in the past, we'll have 4.01 will be approval of the minutes of the business and closed session general account, and 4.02 would be the closed session by itself. So do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
Make a motion to.
I think I heard Mr. Grigg first. Who was the second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bridges. Any questions or discussion on that? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 8-0. So we have two sets of minutes for approval as the minutes of the July 22nd business and closed session general account and the July 22nd closed session. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve both minutes. Second.
Motion by Mr. Bridges, second by Mr. Shores. Any questions or discussion?
Did we get our vote correctly? Did we come back out and vote correctly on what took place in closed session?
Yes. All in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 8-0. On to committee reports, Finance and Personnel, Mr. Shores.
Mr. Chair, the August 1st Finance and Personnel Committee meeting was called to order by myself. Mr. McDaniel shared a state budget update. The state is using a new funding model where funding is based on the second month of last year. We are in the second year of the binary budget that was approved last year by the General Assembly. We are also now being required to note for the year of grant money in our accounting, which completes our processes. Mr. McDaniel gave a brief local budget update. The plan is to bring the nurse contract to the board tonight. Mr. McDaniel shared ESSER update that was provided by Donna Piercy. All ESSER money has been allocated and is on track to be spent by September 24th deadline. Dr. Waltmer shared a vacancy update in school-level staffing for the 24-25 school year. We are continuing to fill vacancies, but we have a plan to have a teacher in every classroom when students return. Teachers and staff will be back next week, which is today, or teachers were back last week and students will start back this Wednesday, August 14th. With no other business, the meeting was adjourned. Next meeting is August 29th at noon.
Thank you, Mr. Shores. We do have two action items under Finance and Personnel. First is the school nurse contract. So that's from the Cleveland County Health Department. That amount is $731,610.24. And just as a reminder, that's 40% of actual cost of the previous year. That's about 130 lower than last year, I believe. So, what's the pleasure of the board?
Are we furnishing, having a nurse at every school?
Hold on a minute, I got a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Blanton?
Are we gonna have a nurse at every school this year? Last year, we had some that was out due to health reasons, and I understand that. But if we're paying a fee, then they should supply us a
We're
nurse.
paying for actual costs, so if someone's there, we're not getting billed for, if someone's out, we're not getting billed for that. So that's why we're paying in arrears. So these are actual costs. I think it was 1.8 something million was the total. Any other questions or discussion? All right, those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 8-0. Next, we have the personnel report. What's the pleasure of the board? Second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Bridges, second by Mr. Shores. Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. And that carries 8-0. Moving on to educational programs, Mr. Humphreys.
Excuse me. So Education Program Committee met on Friday, August the 2nd. EC Director Wendy Fitch provided an overview of the current status of EC contracts. One of the previously approved contract companies is no longer able to provide an employee. Mrs. Fitch shared a new contract with Epic for an EC teacher. Mrs. Fitch also shared a contract with Speech and Language Corner, PLLC, to provide a speech language pathologist assistant, SLP to supervise the SLPA, conduct evaluations and meetings, and an additional 2 days per week SLP. The contract will involve work for an SLP and SLP assistant. The committee discussed the various initiatives that our EC department is currently working on in order to provide high-quality services to students. The committee discussed the contracts and recommended approval by full board. Dr. Hunnell discussed the summer 2025 testing plan. The committee recommended approval to the full board. Dr. Hunnell also reviewed the 23-24 graduation rates for CCS. Dr. Hunnell discussed the various programs that CCS is currently implementing to continually improve our graduation rates. CTE Director Rhonda Benfield also provided the committee with an overview of WorkKeys data. Mrs. Benfield also provided an update on how many of our students had completed a credential in the past year. Over the past year, over 2,000 credentials have been awarded. OSR Director Paula Peeler provided an overview of NC Apprentice and early childhood. The Building Bright Futures program provides financial support for preschool employees to increase their educational levels in order to maintain compliance with employment regulations. Mrs. Peeler also presented the Head Start supplemental grant funding request for a new playground at Washington Playground. OSR is also going to request grant funding for a mannequin to further assist with CPR training. This purchase will teach participants how to apply appropriate pressure for chest compressions. Dr. Hunnell and Dr. Parker provided an overview of the CCIP consolidated application for the 24-25 school year. The committee reviewed Title I, Title IV spending plans, through Title IV spending plans. The committee recommended the CCIP consolidated plan to the full board for approval. With no other business, the meeting was adjourned. The next meeting for the committee is scheduled for August the 30th at 10:30 a.m.
Thank you, Mr. Umpers. We do have three action items and educational programs. First is the EC contracts. This is similar to what we voted on in previous months. The two contracts, one is with Epic for an EC teacher. That's a not to exceed of $97,920. The second is with Speech and Language Corner, PLLC, for speech language pathologist assistant. That's a not to exceed $158,400. Both of these come from committee recommended for approval. Any questions or discussion?
What I'd just like to say is I sit on the Education Committee, and I say this every time, but we do have openings for these positions. We just can't find anybody to apply. That's why we're having to do these contracts and pay so much for them, and it's unfortunate that we just don't have anybody applying for these positions. But it's something by law we have to have.
Thank you, Mr. Shore. All right, those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 8-0. Next is the summer 2025 testing plan. Again, this comes from committee recommended for approval. Any questions or discussion? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 8-0. Last is the comprehensive continuous improvement plan, and that includes funding for Title I through Title IV. Comes from committee recommended for approval. Any questions or discussion? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 8-0. Next is operations. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The August 2nd Operations Committee meeting was called to order by Greg Taylor. Dr. Jennifer Wampler and Chip Childers shared the capital projects report. The committee reviewed the report. Next month, a new report will be started for 2024, 2025, and the items under completed will be removed. The August report will be attached to the board's agenda at our next meeting as an information item. Dr. Wampler and Mr. Childers shared a request from a property owner for an easement behind Washington Elementary School. Staff does not recommend the easement due to possible safety concerns with access being granted to the back of the school. The committee agreed with staff recommendation, and staff will communicate with the property owner. Dr. Wampler and Dr. Stephen Fisher shared a recommendation to declare surplus 2 properties on Douglas Street in Lawndale. The system has no use for these properties. One is .29 acres and the other is .82 acres. The committee unanimously agreed with the properties being declared surplus and voted to bring the recommendation to the full board for a vote in August. Daniel Sherman shared an update on the MEP ESSER-funded projects at our traditional high schools. We have had final inspections at both Burns and Crest High Schools. Kings Mountain is wrapped up and Shelby is wrapping up. At Shelby High School, the HVAC unit replacement project in the vocational building is finishing up and is on track to be completed prior to students returning on August the 14th. Mr. Sherman shared that a change order is coming from Shelby High School that he believes will be over $30,000 related to electrical work. There is an electrical allowance and contingency available to cover this cost, but because it is over $30,000, it is being shared with the committee. Mr. Sherman shared that he had a temporary CO for the Burns High press box. Water fountain coils are going in, and this will result in a final CO. The Burns press box will be ready to go for the football jamboree. Crest High press box is about 2 weeks behind Burns. At Crest, they are waiting on countertops and carpet. Technology is finalizing the fiber work in the press box. Ginger Jackson gave a technology update. The E-rate infrastructure project has gone well and is wrapping up. This summer, technology has put in 1,524 access points, 154 switches, and 7 fiber upgrades in secondary schools. This provides excellent connectivity for schools. Over 14,000 Chromebooks have been cleaned and repaired this summer in preparation for students to return. Dr. Fisher shared that we still have not received a response from the county related to the Marion and Graham elementary schools. These properties were declared surplus by the board in the past and were offered to the county. However, we have not received a response, though it has been requested multiple times. With no additional new business, the meeting was adjourned. Next Operations Committee meeting is scheduled for Friday, August 30th at 12 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. We do have one action item. That's the Lawndale surplus property. So there are 2 lots. One is .29 acres. It's next to First Baptist Lawndale, I believe, and the other is .82 acres across the street. So the recommendation from committee is just to declare these as surplus, and that'll give our attorney and superintendent opportunity to look for the best way to dispose of those. So we're not voting to get rid or sell or do anything yet, just to declare surplus. This is the first step in the process. Any questions or discussion on that?
Is there anything on that property now? Or is it just vacant lots?
I don't think there's anything on either one. Yeah, the
Okay.
.29.
Well,
is
are
just
we
a
gonna be-
sliver
Yeah.
next to the
Okay.
church.
Are we gonna be putting it up for bid?
Well, they'll bring a
That-
recommendation back to us
Okay.
at our next committee meeting, I would assume.
There's a picture of those in
I believe they're vacant. Any other questions? So again, this vote would be to just the first step, declare those as surplus. All right, those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 8-0. On the policy committee, Mr. Humphries.
Policy Committee met on Tuesday, July the 30th at 12 p.m. The committee reviewed the 21-25 strategic plan goals for policy. I'm feeding back just a little bit on the,
I'll turn mine off.
oh, yeah, maybe that was picking it up, okay. Okay, the first goal of finalizing the policy manual transition to a customer-centric, user-friendly platform has been completed. The other 2 goals are related to continuous improvement and will continue. The committee discussed the possibility of a new goal and systematic reviewing. It's not like I've been around microphones before, is it? Systematically reviewing each policy every 3 to 5 years. This will continue to be discussed in preparations for
I think it's just
more
your voice.
formal. In frequency land, that's way higher. The committee reviewed policies 4130. If that thing ever takes off, it's going to deafen everybody in here. Is it coming through your ear?
It's coming through, but it's normal.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Dan, slide that way just a little bit.
Okay. I don't want to deafen the room. The committee reviewed policies 4130, out-of-district admission, and 3105, homeschool dual enrollment for athletes. The committee again discussed Section B of 4130 related to tuition for out-of-county students and recommended no changes be made to our current policy. The committee reviewed policy 3105 with special focus on number 4, which requires 2 or 3 classes to be taken face-to-face. The committee discussed various changes and ultimately recommends some changes to policy 4130. The recommended changes are being presented to the board for a first read in August. So I led a discussion with the committee in reviewing policies 3400, 3405, 3410, 3415 regarding evaluating student progress, identifying students at risk of academic failure, testing and assessing students, and dropout prevention and intervention. This review was part of the committee's regular review of the policy manual. No changes were recommended to these policies. In new business, Dr. Fisher shared the opening school parent letter and discussed the information and forms that parents are asked to provide. The committee reviewed some of the links. With no new business, the meeting was adjourned. The next policy committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August the 27th at noon.
Dr. Fisher, I found one mistake in that report, if we can get corrected. So in the second paragraph, we're talking about policies 4130 and 3105. So there'll be recommended changes to 3105, not 4130. They're about 3 sentences from the bottom. Okay, thank you. So we do have one policy for first read. That's policy 3105, homeschool dual enrollment for athletics. So if everyone would take the opportunity to review those changes, they'll be up for vote next meeting. Our safety committee report. Mr. Spurling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rodney Fitch called the Safety Committee to order. Mr. Rodney Borders gave a brief update on the strategic plan and highlighted the district's successes. Mr. Borders also provided a safety grant update. Cleveland County Schools is tracking nicely in regards to the planned expenditures after receiving funds in February of 2024. He explained that these funds will roll over into the next fiscal year. We have spent $210,000 and have $130,000 remaining. There was discussion on the school's IDs for every high school and middle school student. Mr. Borders updated committee on training done at the administrative retreat. This training included our school risk management plans and school crisis plans. Kimberly Jenkins provided SMART team training to school and district administrators. Rodney Borders had an updated or upcoming school resource meeting on August 8th at 8:30. Sandy Hamrick provided an update on the See Something, Say Something and upcoming counselor social worker training. David Pless provided an update on the AED inventory. He also discussed the upcoming football season and shared that parental supervision must be provided to underage students. Just a note, underage is 8th grade and below. All metal detectors should be up and running at all of our high schools. Rodney Fitch adjourned the meeting. Next safety meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 27th at 12 o'clock.
Thank you, Mr. Spurling. Next is our superintendent's update. Dr. Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'll be brief tonight. Just a few updates to share with you. Our teachers, it was stated earlier, our teachers were back in session beginning last Tuesday, August 6th. It's been a busy, a little over a week with teachers in session. We have had lots of trainings and different things going on, orientations. Some folks that usually are at our board meetings tonight are absent because they're either doing orientation or orientation with their kids. But one of the highlights of the beginning of school was our CTCs, our curriculum technology coordinators at our middle schools our elementary schools had a meeting at Albemarle where they were able to tour that facility. A great opportunity and learning experience. They are not only doing getting some preparations for their school year, but also learning what's going on in Albemarle. So really appreciate our friends in Albemarle sponsoring that and having our leaders on campus. Another highlight, and I shared the picture with you, is some of our student athletes quarterly, David Pless has the opportunity to come up and share just the academic success of our student athletes and what they're doing both on and off the field. And just really, this was at our annual coaches meeting, had the opportunity to meet with our coaches and share some expectations. But I think the highlight is for them to hear these student athletes and the impact that those coaches have on them, answering questions, and really appreciate Mr. Pless putting this together. It's a great time as an educator to really reflect and hear from kids and what's really important and what matters. So great opportunity and learning environment there for our coaches. Just a couple updates. The first day of school for everybody other than the early college, which we've already started. First day of school is Wednesday, August 14th. Exciting day in our county. I think over the last week or two, everywhere I've been, people ask, are y'all ready? You excited about school starting? And absolutely. We feel good about the start of school, and it's always exciting to get everybody in the building and having our young people come on Wednesday. Just as a reminder, we sent this out, and I know Shelby High School's done a good job of communicating this. We do have an alternate schedule for Shelby High School this week and beginning of next week. That information has been communicated to students, staff, and parents. Cleveland Early College High School is off to a fantastic start. I've had the opportunity to visit them twice last week, and Dr. Tipton and his team are doing a wonderful job. Students really engaged with lots of stuff, especially our 9th through 11th graders. Our seniors over there haven't started yet because the college starts next week, so we've really had 9th, 10th, and 11th graders out there at the early college. So really had a great start over there. And I want to really double down on what Mr. Queen said during the recognition. A special thank you to our staff for their dedication and preparation getting ready for school start. Seems like it's been a very busy summer. It seems like it's been a quick summer, but our folks have done an exceptional job preparing schools and getting them ready to go. You see final touches putting on this week. We did have a rain day on Thursday, August 8th, and that created some unique circumstances and rescheduling orientations and doing some things differently. And then when you have 3 or 4 inches of rain dumped on the county in a day's time, that does create some other issues. But I just really appreciate all of our folks pitching in and doing those extra things. Some folks had orientation on Thursday morning. It was wet, but it was parents seemed to be excited about having their children in school and going to orientation, and a lot of orientations were rescheduled for today, and so those have gone exceptionally well. Just a couple upcoming events. The Cleveland County Football Jamboree is this Friday, 16th, Burns High School. We do, as mentioned in our operation report, the new restrooms, concession stand, and press box are ready to go, and I know folks will enjoy that at the Jamboree, get the opportunity to see that. I know, especially the restrooms, folks will really appreciate those on Friday night. Labor Day, it's hard to believe we're already talking about that, but as we look forward, there's Labor Day holiday, Board of Education meeting there in September. A couple of events I do want to highlight for you: Outstanding Educators Banquet on Tuesday, September 10th, Circle of Honor recognition on Tuesday, September 24th. You've had that in your packet of information. We just want to highlight those as we have an opportunity to recognize our employees and Team CCS on that. You see our golf tournament and then a board meeting that gets us through there in October. Mr. Chairman, we're going to try to answer any questions that you may have, but that's superintendent update for tonight.
Any questions for Dr. Fisher?
What time was that thing?
6 o'clock.
All right, thank you. Next is public participation. Mr. Shores, if you could read the rules of engagement.
Public comments should not address any specific confidential student or personnel matter. Specific comments related to confidential student or personnel matters should be directed to the superintendent or designee. Comments must be relevant to matters that are within the authority of the board. Speakers shall refrain from personal attacks or threats towards staff, elected board members, or members of the public. Speakers shall be courteous in their language and presentations. Insults, profanity, use of vulgar language or gestures, or other inappropriate behavior are not allowed. The board vests in its chair or other presiding officer's authority to terminate the remarks of any individual when he or she does not adhere to the rules established above. Any person who willfully interrupts or disturbs a board meeting may be directed to leave the meeting by a presiding officer. Any person who refuses to leave may be prosecuted for disrupting a public meeting. Persons appearing before the board are reminded as a point of information that the board members of the Cleveland County Board of Education are without authority to act independently as individuals in official matters. Immediate answers are not generally possible and must be deferred pending investigation and consideration by the full board.
Thank you, Mr. Shores. We do have one speaker tonight, Mr. Rod Powell.
Gentlemen, it's good to be here tonight. As we start another great school year here in Cleveland County, I'd like to highlight a critical issue that will impact our students' education and well-being. The challenge of managing a rapidly changing technology in our schools. Now, Natasha Singer, a national educational reporter, has recently highlighted this challenge in her coverage of nationwide trends, and it's one that will hit us hard. We all know that teachers struggle with cell phones in the classrooms of Cleveland County. These phones have become indispensable in our lives, have they not? But we can all agree that they have become a significant source of distraction and destruction. We've seen students watching TikTok videos and text messaging during lessons, and sadly, there have been instances where phones were used to threaten or bully classmates. Now, we have policies here in Cleveland County schools that limit cell phone use during school hours. These measures have shown promise in boosting student engagement and reducing phone-related incidents, but you know, they're not a cure-all. The broader issue extends beyond cell phones. The rapid pace of technological advancements means that our policies and safeguards often lag behind. School-issued laptops and tablets intended as educational tools can become platforms for distraction or worse, avenues for bullying. We've seen students misuse these devices to take unauthorized photos of their peers, which are then shared in hurtful ways. The rise of artificial intelligence also brings new concerns, such as the potential for AI-generated images that are used maliciously against fellow students. What this tells us is we need a comprehensive approach to technology in our schools. It's not enough to simply ban phones or block websites. We need to ensure that our educators are equipped with the knowledge and tools to guide students in using technology responsibly. We must push for stronger safeguards from tech companies that create these tools. Like we teach our students to drive safely, we must teach them how to navigate the digital world without causing harm to themselves or their fellow students. As we move forward, I urge this board to prioritize developments of robust, forward-thinking policies that address the full spectrum of technology use in our schools. Let's work together to create an environment where technology enhances learning rather than detracting from it. Thank you. It's been a pleasure speaking with you this evening.
Thank you. Next, we have board member comments. Mr. Sperling.
So first, I'd like to say to Dr. Fisher, everybody is excited about the school year getting started, but as a fellow instructor, there's also a lot of tension and apprehension and a lot of going on. We're like a busy beehive right now, but I'm grateful to all the employees in Cleveland County Schools, not just the teachers, but the administrators and all the support staff and everybody. I think Cleveland County Schools makes a great team. We tend to support each other. You can walk into any of the schools and everybody is like one unit getting ready for the school year. So I appreciate, just like has been reiterated a couple of times, I appreciate everybody. And once school years get started, we'll get into a routine, and I think everything will go. I do want to say we do have some classes for the students to take. Don't forget, you can take online courses for the technology piece and for safe cell phone usage. It's been, our counselors and our IT staff have done a good job putting those out. Don't forget to take those if you want to be able to use your cell phones in classes. Thank you.
Mr. Blount?
Well, I hope everybody has a great year. It is about to get started. I am the one that's been pushing these badges for these middle schools and high schools. I think that every child should be wearing one so that would help the resource officers, because every teacher does not know every child when school first starts. So I'm pushing hard for the middle schools and the high schools to have these badges on so that that picture, I have to wear mine when I go. The teacher wears theirs. What's wrong with that child wearing theirs? And then that resource officers, because there have been changes in our resource officers this year. So they don't know as many kids at a particular school if they're not at the same school, and then new kids is coming in. So we have the machines in place. Put that badge on them. Don't cost much, and that could mean saving the wrong person in the wrong place. So I hope that we have a good year. Every child goes through those monitors. If we don't have a monitor somewhere, we got some wands. It's bad that we've had to come to this in this country, but we have. So let's try to make our schools safe for our staff, our children, and our leaders as a whole. So thank you very much and have a good year, teachers and kids.
Ms. Crumpers? Mr. Gregg?
I just want to say I want the teachers to have a great year this year, and I want the students to dream big, because your future's all ahead of you, and you can be anything you want to be, and that's what I used to tell my daughters. You can be anything you want to be. You just have to dream big and go for it. So that's all I want to say to the students, but have a good year, teachers.
Mr. Bridges?
Welcome back, everybody. I hope that everyone has a good school year, and our teachers and staff and students have a successful school year. I look to see what happens in our school system this year and appreciate everything everybody does. Thank you.
Mr. Taylor? Mr. Shore? All right. We'll move along. Mr. Shores, you have a motion to enter into closed session.
Yes, sir. Pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11, subsections A and 3 and A6, I move that we go into closed session for the purpose of consulting with board attorney and discussing confidential personnel matter.
Is there a second?
Second.
I heard Mr. Taylor. Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 8-0. Thank you.